The Zarthul Empire had ruled the stars for more than 1,000 cycles. Their ships were enormous, glinting like black diamonds against the void. Their crews trained from birth to obey, conquer, and dominate. They had seen civilizations rise and fall, stars born and die, yet nothing intrigued or threatened them anymore, until they detected a small, fragile signal at the edge of their new expansion. It came from a system they had not charted before. A blue planet orbited a yellow sun, surrounded by tiny rocky companions. At first, the Zarthul dismissed it. It was just another small world, young and insignificant. But the signal grew stronger, more persistent, and then the scouts reported it. Signs of life. Intelligent life. Primitive, Commander Tharkul declared as he hovered over the star map. His long, angular face shadowed in the dim lights of the command deck. Barely able to leave their home planet, and yet they shine like a beacon in the void. How amusing. Admiral Veshitra, his second-in-command, raised a sharp, elongated claw. Do you propose we ignore them, Commander? Even primitive species can be dangerous when cornered. Tharkul's many eyes glimmered with disdain. Dangerous? They are children playing with sticks while we wield the stars themselves. Their colonies are small, fragile, and barely off their planet. There is no threat here, only amusement. The Zarthul's arrogance was enormous, as it always had been. They had conquered hundreds of systems with ease. They had never met a species they could not dominate, and so the humans, as they would soon learn their name, were dismissed as irrelevant. Yet something about their signal puzzled the Zarthul. It carried patterns that suggested technology beyond what such a young species could possess, or at least that was what the Zarthul thought. The scouts reported colonies on Mars, mining operations, and orbital stations orbiting the blue planet. It was small, yes, but organized, resourceful, alive. Tharkul leaned closer to the view screen, watching the humans' early spacefaring efforts. Tiny, scratch-built ships moved cautiously through the void, fragile and vulnerable. One could see their determination, their stubborn desire to explore, but from the Zarthul perspective it was almost laughable. Prepare the fleet, Tharkul ordered. We will observe them, nothing more. Perhaps even play with them a little. They must learn their place. And so the Zarthul ships moved silently through the dark space between the stars. They were vast in number, their engines silent until the moment they wished to strike. The humans had no idea of the empire now approaching their doorstep, an empire that considered them little more than ants. On Earth, the human colonies were busy with the ordinary. Mars had become a hub of learning and survival. Small communities growing domes among the red dust. Scientists debated the possibilities of life beyond the solar system. Engineers worked on faster ships. Soldiers drilled for emergencies they could not yet imagine. Lieutenant Mara Patel stood on the observation deck of the Mars orbital station, her eyes tracing the glowing Earth below. It was peaceful here, almost serene. She thought of how far humanity had come. Barely a few decades of true space exploration. And yet they had already planted themselves on another world. Her comrade, Captain Luis Ortega, joined her, sipping recycled water from a small container. You're looking at it like it's our last chance, Mara, he said lightly. Relax, everything's fine. Nothing could threaten Earth or Mars out here. Mara didn't respond. She felt an unexplainable chill, though the station was warm. Something in the deep, dark reaches of space told her that humanity was not alone, and that not all who roamed the stars were benevolent. That chill would grow. Days passed. Communications from Earth reached the Mars colonies. Ordinary updates, news of new stations, mining operations, and exploratory flights. Then one day, the orbital scanners detected something unusual. A massive fleet at the edge of the system. They were unlike anything humanity had built. Ships larger than entire cities. Engines glowing with a quiet, controlled power. Formations moving with the precision of a single mind. The alarm sounded across all stations. Scientists and military personnel rushed to their posts. Mara and Luis were both pulled into the command center, where holographic displays revealed the enormous shapes of the alien fleet. What are they? One engineer whispered, voice trembling. They're the Zarthul, a historian finally said, almost in disbelief. The conquerors of the known galaxy. If this is true... He trailed off, staring at the display. Mara's heart pounded. She had studied interstellar civilizations, old records of species that had dominated entire galaxies. But she never expected to see one so close, and now they were looking at Earth's solar system. "They're here," she said quietly. "They're coming for us," but the Zarthul did not come with immediate violence. For days they observed from the edges of the system, sending emissaries in ships that gleamed like black mirrors. Their first contact was a single small craft that landed on one of the outer research stations, radiating power and authority. Through translation systems, the human leaders heard the first words from the Zarthul ambassador: "Submit, yield your worlds to the Zarthul Empire. In return, you shall receive protection and guidance. Refusal will be met with destruction." Governments across the solar system were thrown into panic. Humanity had barely managed to unify enough to reach Mars, and now an empire that spanned thousands of worlds demanded obedience. Some argued for negotiation. Others prepared defenses. But the truth was simple. The humans were unprepared, their weapons fragile compared to the Zarthul war machines. Even a single Zarthul ship could obliterate a human city in minutes. And yet, there was defiance. There always had been in humanity. Captain Ortega spoke to Mara as they watched the alien ships glide silently over Mars. "We can't let them intimidate us." "Not yet. We survive by trying, not by hiding." Mara nodded. "I know, but are we even capable of standing against them?" For the Zarthul, the humans were amusing. They sent small fleets to demonstrate their power. Each time, human ships tried to respond, and each time they were destroyed or barely escaped. The Zarthul watched, expecting fear, panic, and submission. But something unexpected happened. The humans were stubborn, resourceful. They repaired what was broken, innovated with what they had, and refused to surrender entirely. It was during one of these skirmishes that the Zarthul noticed something strange. On the moon, and even on Mars itself, there were structures far older than humanity's history books recorded. Not recent colonies, not the work of modern engineers, but remnants of something ancient. Stone and metal constructions that did not match any known human design. Curiosity flickered among the Zarthul. They had conquered civilizations, studied countless species, yet this was new. These humans, fragile and new, were standing among ruins that suggested a legacy older than even the Zarthul Empire. Commander Tharkul frowned. "What is this?" "Evidence of an older civilization." "Human or not?" Admiral Vestra answered, voice tight with excitement and unease. "It appears human, but older than the records. How can this be? They are a young species. They could not have built these." For the first time, the Zarthul felt something unfamiliar. Doubt. Not fear, not yet, but curiosity, the first crack in their arrogance. They had assumed humans were insignificant. They had assumed history began with their current fragile colonies. And yet, the ruins suggested otherwise. As the humans continued to resist, the Zarthul began to question what they had come for. Was it conquest? Or had they stumbled upon a species with a hidden history, a legacy long forgotten even to themselves? The answer would take time to reveal. But one thing was certain. The simple, fragile humans of the solar system were not as ordinary as they seemed. And the stars, which the Zarthul had claimed as theirs, might hold secrets they were not ready for. In the command center of the Zarthul flagship, Commander Tharkul stared at the star map, his many eyes narrowing. "Perhaps we have underestimated them." And somewhere on Earth, unaware of how closely the Empire watched, humanity prepared for the trials ahead. They had no idea how powerful the shadow of their own past would soon become. The stars waited, and the game had only just begun. The Zarthul fleet lingered at the edge of the solar system, massive black ships moving like shadows against the light of the distant sun. The humans watched them nervously from Mars and Earth, their small fleets nothing but fragile sticks against the power that hovered over them. Yet even in the face of fear, humanity's determination was unmistakable. Captain Luis Ortega paced the command deck of the Mars Defense Station. His jaw was tight and his eyes never left the holographic display of approaching ships. "They want submission," he muttered almost to himself. "But we won't give it. We just can't. If we do, everything humanity has fought for, it's gone." Lieutenant Mara Patel, standing beside him, shook her head slightly. "Luis, you know what they are. These aren't ordinary invaders. Their ships alone could destroy our colonies in minutes. And yet, you want to fight?" Luis looked at her, determination burning in his eyes. "We may not win today. But if we don't resist, we never will. We're human. We don't give up. Across the void, the Zarthul ambassador made their presence known. Their sleek ship descended toward the Martian colony of New Ares, radiating authority and power. On board, their leader spoke in a voice that resonated like steel across human translation systems. You are insignificant. Surrender now and your species may survive. Refuse, and you will be erased. The Human Council debated fiercely. Earth's leaders argued for negotiation, for survival through compliance. Mars's leaders, hardened by life in a hostile world, argued for resistance. The tension stretched across communication channels like taut wires ready to snap. Finally, it was decided. Humanity would send a small delegation to meet the Zarthul. It was a gamble, risky but perhaps necessary. Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Patel, along with scientists and diplomats, boarded a fragile transport ship, its hull trembling with the force of its engines, and set a course for the alien flagship. The journey through the void was silent, punctuated only by the low hum of human engines. Mara stared at the stars outside, thinking about how small they were in comparison to the alien armada. Do you think they even know we're capable of more than hiding? She asked quietly. Luis shook his head. Probably not. They've never faced humans before. They think we're simple, fragile, easy to intimidate. But that's where they're wrong. Humans are persistent. We adapt. When they arrived, the scale of the Zarthul flagship was breathtaking. It was larger than any structure humanity had ever built, its surface smooth and black, reflecting the starlight like a mirror. The delegation was escorted inside by beings taller than any human, their faces angular, eyes multifaceted, and their presence overwhelming. The ambassador, a towering figure with dark iridescent skin, spoke again. You have been observed. Your species is young, weak, and disorganized. Surrender your colonies and your fleet to the Zarthul Empire. Resistance is futile. Captain Ortega stepped forward, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at his chest. We are young, yes. We may be fragile, but we are not weak. And we will not surrender our home, our people, or our freedom. The Zarthul ambassador's eyes narrowed, almost as if amused. Defiance. Typical of a primitive species. You are fortunate we have not yet destroyed you. Consider this your only warning. And then, without another word, they released the human delegation and left. The humans returned to Mars, shaken but unbroken. The council met again, debating what to do next. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would resist, however small their chances. The Zarthul, confident in their superiority, launched small skirmishes to test human defenses. Each time, human ships responded with courage rather than strategy. Many were destroyed, yet each engagement revealed something unexpected. Humans learned quickly, adapted, and survived. On the surface of Mars, archaeologists had begun examining ancient structures recently discovered beneath the red dust. Large geometric formations, far older than any human settlement, lay hidden beneath the Martian soil. For years, these ruins had been ignored, considered natural formations, but the arrival of the Zarthul had drawn new attention. Mara Patel visited one of these sites, walking carefully over the jagged stones. These aren't natural, she whispered. Someone built them, long before we were here, long before recorded history. One of the scientists, an older woman named Dr. Tanaka, nodded. Yes. And there are similar structures on the moon, and perhaps even Earth. Our species may not be as young as we think. Something was here before us, and we may be the inheritors of that legacy. Luis entered the dig site, wiping dust from his hands. So you're saying humans might have ancestors in space? Dr. Tanaka gave a faint smile. Not just ancestors, a civilization. Ancient, advanced, lost to time. We are only beginning to uncover it. The discovery unsettled the Zarthul even more. Their scouts reported the findings, and for the first time, doubt crept into the minds of the conquerors. These humans, fragile as they seemed, stood upon a foundation older and far more mysterious than they had expected. Commander Tharkul convened a council aboard the flagship. These humans, they are not the infants we assumed. Evidence suggests they may be heirs to an ancient power. We must proceed carefully. Admiral Veshitra's many eyes shifted uneasily. Do you mean to suggest they could be dangerous? Tharkul's jaw clicked. Not dangerous now, but potentially, and arrogance has always been the downfall of the mighty. Back on Mars, humans worked tirelessly. They upgraded ships, improved weapons, and studied the ruins beneath the surface. Each discovery inspired hope. Every skirmish with the Zarthul became a lesson, each defeat a seed of knowledge. Humanity began to understand that survival would require more than courage. It would require ingenuity, unity, and the awakening of a legacy long forgotten. Despite their setbacks, the Zarthul continued to underestimate humanity. Their scouts reported human colonies as fragile, uncoordinated, and technologically limited. Each assumption only fueled their arrogance. But the humans had something the Zarthul could not calculate: spirit. A stubborn, relentless drive to survive, explore, and reclaim what had been forgotten. Even as the aliens loomed like dark shadows over their colonies, humanity refused to bow. Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Patel stood on the observation deck of the Mars station one evening, watching the alien fleet. The orange-red dust of the planet reflected in the windows, casting a warm glow against the cold dark of space. "They think this is a game," Mara said softly. "But we're not afraid." "Not really," Luis nodded. "They may have the stars, the ships, the power. But we have something else. Something they can't measure: determination, hope, and maybe, just maybe, our past." For the Zarthul, the humans were amusing. They were small, fragile, and their victories seemed insignificant. Yet there was an undercurrent of unease, a faint recognition that these humans were unlike other species they had encountered. Something was hidden beneath the surface, something that would change everything if uncovered. On Mars, the ruins whispered secrets long forgotten. Stones carved with symbols that no living human could read. Machines buried beneath centuries of dust waiting to awaken. A history lost to time but encoded in the very essence of humanity. And as the humans prepared for the inevitable confrontation, the stars above shimmered with the promise of discovery. For the Zarthul, the conquest seemed certain. For humanity, the future was uncertain, yet filled with the quiet fire of awakening. The first contact had been unequal. The humans were outmatched, their ships fragile, their weapons weak. But they had survived, and in surviving, they had discovered something more powerful than fear: the possibility that they were not merely victims of history, but heirs to it. The stars waited, patient and indifferent. The Zarthul assumed dominance. Humanity assumed nothing. They only moved forward step by step, learning, adapting, discovering, and above all holding fast to the stubborn truth of who they were. Something extraordinary was about to awaken. Something that would shake the galaxy to its core, and the humans of the solar system, young and fragile as they seemed, were the key. The game of conquest had only just begun, but the first move belonged to humanity. The ruins beneath Mars's red dust were older than any human record, older even than the first settlements on the planet. Crisscrossing tunnels, vast chambers, and strange mechanical structures lay buried for centuries. Scientists had assumed Mars was a quiet, barren world before humans arrived. But the Zarthul's presence forced a deeper investigation, and the truth was staggering. Dr. Tanaka led the excavation, her team moving carefully among the monolithic stones. "This is not natural," she said, brushing dust from a wall covered in intricate symbols. "The design, the precision. It's impossible for our ancestors to have built this. It predates human history by millennia." Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Patel watched from above, the Martian dust storm swirling outside the observation deck. The news of these findings had shaken them. If humans were standing atop an ancient civilization, what did that mean for their place in the galaxy? Luis ran a hand through his hair. "So what you're saying, we're not as young as we thought? There's a history we've forgotten?" Dr. Tanaka nodded. "Not just forgotten. Erased, perhaps. Humanity may have had advanced technology in the distant past, technology that rivaled or even exceeded what the Zarthul now possess. These ruins, they're proof of a legacy we've only begun to uncover." The Zarthul noticed the same structures from orbit. Commander Tharkul stared at the imagery displayed on his main bridge. "These humans—" "They are not primitive. These ruins predate our records. Their civilization may have been comparable to ours long ago." Admiral Veshitra's many eyes widened. "Are you suggesting they were once our equals?" Tharkul's voice was low, almost thoughtful. "Not just equals. Perhaps ancestors of what we now consider a new species. Their history has been lost, hidden beneath the dust of time. This is remarkable. Back on Mars, human engineers attempted to interface with strange devices buried within the ruins. The machines were dormant, ancient, and silent for countless years, yet hints of power remained. When one device activated, it projected a holographic star map of distant galaxies, maps that no human had ever seen. Mara Patel stood in awe. These are star charts. Thousands of systems, civilizations, coordinates to places we've never dreamed of. Who built this? Dr. Tanaka's voice trembled with excitement. Our ancestors, humans. Long ago, we reached for the stars. We built technology far beyond what we currently possess. This proves it. We were never truly new to the galaxy. The news spread quickly through human colonies. Panic and excitement intertwined. Leaders realized that humans had a hidden legacy, a forgotten empire of the past. It wasn't just survival at stake anymore, it was reclamation. Humanity had the opportunity to rediscover skills, knowledge, and technology lost for millennia. Meanwhile, the Zarthul debated their next move. They had assumed that human resistance was temporary, a brief annoyance before subjugation. Now, doubt gnawed at them. Commander Tharkul addressed his council. We underestimated them. This species. Their history is hidden, yes, but it suggests they once held power among the stars. We cannot predict what they might do if they regain their ancient knowledge. Veshtra's voice carried a rare tone of unease. Do you fear them, Commander? Tharkul's multiple eyes focused on the starlit expanse outside. Not yet. But history teaches us caution. Empires fall when they ignore what lies beneath the surface. And these humans, beneath their young, fragile appearance, there is something older, something enduring. On Earth, news of the Martian discoveries sparked global debates. Scientists, historians, and politicians argued over the implications. Could humanity reclaim its ancient technology? Could they restore a civilization that had once reached beyond the stars? Luis and Mara were called to a secret conference with global leaders. Holograms displayed images of strange machines, alien artifacts, and the mysterious symbols etched into stone. President Kara Lynn of Earth addressed them. We are not just a young species. We are heirs to a lost legacy. If we can unlock this knowledge, if we can understand these ancient technologies, humanity's future could change forever. Mara felt a thrill run through her. It's incredible. All this time we thought we were starting from scratch, but we're not. We have a foundation waiting for us to rebuild. Luis nodded. And the Zarthul? They still see us as weak. That gives us a chance to learn, to prepare, and to show them who we really are. As humans worked tirelessly to decode the ruins, strange artifacts began to respond. Ancient devices, thought to be dormant, started to activate when humans approached. Lights flickered along the walls, mechanisms hummed softly, and holographic interfaces appeared. One device projected an ancient ship design, sleek, elegant, powered by energy that humans had never harnessed before. The engineers and scientists gasped. We can build this, Dr. Tanaka said. With time, with study. We can. Luis ran simulations on the Martian computers, imagining fleets of these ships soaring through space. If we can rebuild even a fraction of this, we won't just defend our colonies. We could challenge the Zarthul themselves. Meanwhile, the Zarthul struggled to comprehend what they saw. The data from Mars suggested a civilization with knowledge of faster-than-light travel, advanced energy systems, and technologies that had once rivaled their own empire. Commander Tharkul's voice was grim. We assumed we were the masters of this galaxy. Perhaps we were wrong. If these humans awaken what is theirs, they may surpass us. And history may remember the Zarthul as conquerors who underestimated a forgotten species. On Mars, humans continued to uncover more secrets. Massive generators, long inactive, hummed with hidden energy. Ancient communication networks flickered to life, linking colonies on Mars, Earth, and even the Moon. Symbols etched into stone walls revealed a written history, once thought impossible to decode, now yielding faint but coherent stories of an ancient human empire. Mara Patel stood in the heart of a Martian chamber, staring at the glowing symbols. They traveled the stars, she whispered. They built, explored, and spread across countless worlds, and we are their descendants. Luis placed a hand on her shoulder. Then it's our responsibility. We can't waste what we've discovered. The Zarthul think they can intimidate us, destroy us, but they don't understand what we've just learned. We are not just survivors. We are the heirs of something far greater. The human colonies buzzed with renewed energy. Engineers and scientists worked together, using ancient designs to create new ships, improved weapons, and systems that blended the old with the new. Humanity was no longer simply defending itself. It was rediscovering the brilliance of its ancestors and preparing to reclaim its place among the stars. Commander Tharkul monitored the progress from orbit. "They awaken," he murmured. "They are awakening what we thought was gone forever. And with every step they take, we lose our certainty, our control. Humanity may be more than a nuisance. They may be a force." Even the Zarthul soldiers whispered among themselves, uneasy for the first time in generations. A species they had dismissed as weak and inconsequential was revealing a depth of history, intelligence, and ingenuity that could challenge even their mighty empire. On Mars, the humans celebrated small victories: a successfully rebuilt ship, a machine activated, a symbol deciphered. Each success reminded them that the stars had once belonged to humanity, and that perhaps one day they could belong again. Mara Patel stood on a ridge overlooking the Martian colony. Dust swirled around her, red and orange in the fading light. She looked up at the stars and whispered, "We are not new. We have always been here, and we will rise." Luis joined her, eyes bright with determination. "And the Zarthul will see it. They will see that we are more than they imagined. They may have thought the stars were theirs, but they were ours first, and we are not finished yet." The galaxy waited, silent and vast. For the first time in millennia, humanity remembered. And remembering was only the beginning. The ruins beneath Mars were more than stone and metal. They were a promise. A promise that humans were never as small, as fragile, or as insignificant as they seemed. Humanity's awakening had begun, and nothing could stop the tide of rediscovered knowledge, determination, and legacy. The Zarthul believed the humans to be powerless. But power, they would soon learn, was not only measured in ships, weapons, or fleets. It was measured in spirit, ingenuity, and the courage to rise above the limits history imposed. Humanity was awakening. And with that awakening, the galaxy itself would feel the stirring of something new, yet ancient, yet eternal. The discovery of humanity's ancient legacy sent ripples across the solar system. On Mars, engineers labored day and night, reconstructing fragments of lost technology. Orbital stations hummed with activity, while scientists decoded symbols that revealed systems of energy, propulsion, and communication long forgotten. Humanity's colonies, once scattered and vulnerable, began to transform into a network of coordinated power. Captain Luis Ortega moved among the engineers, watching as new designs took shape. Sleek ships based on ancient blueprints but updated with modern knowledge floated in simulations above the Martian colonies. Each design incorporated lessons from the ruins, blending old ingenuity with contemporary human resourcefulness. "These designs, they're incredible," Luis said to Mara Patel, who was analyzing energy systems derived from ancient generators. "If we can build just a few of these, we could defend Mars, maybe even challenge the Zarthul fleet." Mara nodded, her eyes lighting up with determination. "It's more than defense. This is a chance to reclaim what was ours. Our ancestors explored the stars, and now it's our turn. We have the knowledge. We have the will. We can rise." The Zarthul, watching from orbit, sensed the change. Their long-held assumption of human weakness was being challenged. The fleets they had dismissed as fragile now showed unexpected organization. Human colonies communicated more efficiently, coordinated defenses, and began small but precise strikes against the alien scouts. Commander Tharkul convened a council on the flagship. "Their progress is faster than anticipated," he admitted. "They are learning, adapting, and using technology we did not expect. This is not a species to ignore." Admiral Veshitra's multiple eyes widened. "Do you suggest retreat?" Tharkul shook his head slowly. "Not yet, but we must observe carefully. The humans are awakening something long forgotten, and once fully awake, their potential could rival our own." Meanwhile, on Earth, the revelation of humanity's ancient heritage united the planet in ways history had never seen. Political disputes faded into the background as leaders focused on the shared goal, unlocking the power of their ancestors. Scientists, engineers, and strategists from every nation collaborated, pooling knowledge and resources to support Mars and the colonies. Dr. Tanaka stood before a conference of top engineers. We have evidence of a vast network of ancient technology scattered across our system. Satellites, energy stations, communication hubs, all waiting to be activated. If we coordinate, humanity can rebuild a presence in space far beyond what we imagined. The room buzzed with excitement and urgency. Humanity was no longer simply surviving. They were reclaiming their heritage. Each new discovery strengthened morale, inspiring colonies to work together, to prepare for challenges that lay ahead. In orbit above Mars, Mara Patel and Luis Ortega oversaw the reconstruction of ancient starships. The hulls were reinforced with modern alloys, energy systems enhanced by centuries of scientific progress. Engineers worked tirelessly, guided by ancient schematics and contemporary innovation. "This is just the beginning," Mara said, watching a holographic simulation of a newly designed fleet. "We're awakening something older than we imagined. If we can recover even a fraction of it, humanity will no longer be considered weak." On Mars, archaeologists uncovered an ancient command center buried beneath layers of rock. When activated, it projected maps of distant star systems, some inhabited, some empty, but full of potential. The ancient records revealed the reach of humanity's ancestors, showing trade routes, communication networks, and even defense systems that spanned multiple planets. Louis studied the holographic maps carefully. "We thought we were alone. But our ancestors, they were everywhere. We have a blueprint for expansion and survival, and now it's our turn to follow it." The Zarthul were growing uneasy. Commander Tharkul reviewed the reports. "These humans, their rapid development is alarming. They are connecting systems, rebuilding technology, and coordinating in ways we have not seen from such a young species. Their spirit? It is remarkable." Admiral Vestra's voice was cautious. "They are awakening a legacy long buried. We underestimated the depth of their potential. If they recover even half of what once belonged to them, they could challenge us in ways we cannot predict." Tharkul's eyes glimmered with unease. "We must prepare. They are not what we assumed. Humanity is rising, and the stars they once explored may call them back. The galaxy may remember their power, and we may regret underestimating them." On Mars, humans began activating ancient energy stations, creating a network that linked colonies on Earth, the Moon, and Mars. These systems provided immense energy reserves, capable of powering advanced ships and weaponry. Humanity was transforming the solar system into a coordinated defense and research network. Mara Patel monitored the energy flows, adjusting settings to maximize efficiency. "This network, it's incredible. We have energy for entire fleets, communication across worlds, and the foundation to rebuild our presence in space. Our ancestors prepared this for us. Now it's our responsibility to use it." Luis nodded, watching ships rise in simulations ready to take to the stars. The Zarthul assumed we were weak. They assumed we had nothing. But they don't understand human determination. We adapt, we survive, and now we will rise stronger than they imagined. As humanity rebuilt, the Zarthul fleet made occasional probes into the solar system, testing defenses, assessing human capabilities. Each time they encountered resistance, strategic, adaptive, and surprisingly effective. The humans had learned quickly, incorporating ancient technology into modern tactics. Commander Tharkul convened his generals. "They are not defeated. They are learning faster than we anticipated. They are awakening a power we did not account for. We must reconsider our approach." Admiral Vestra hesitated. "Do we strike before they fully awaken?" Tharkul shook his head. "No. To strike now is to risk provoking a species we do not yet understand. Observation is key. Let them awaken, and we will see if they are to be allies, threats, or something in between. But mark my words, humanity is no longer insignificant." On Mars, humanity celebrated small victories. A fleet of new ships combining ancient and modern design was ready for test flights. Energy networks hummed with power. Communication channels spanned millions of kilometers. The colonies were no longer scattered. They were united, coordinated, and prepared. Dr. Tanaka smiled as she observed a ship rising into the Martian sky. "They thought we were weak. They thought our past was gone. But look at us now. Humanity is waking. Our legacy lives. Captain Ortega watched the fleet, pride swelling in his chest. This is only the beginning. We are not just defending our homes. We are reclaiming a heritage, a history that was nearly lost. And the Zarthul, they will soon see that we are more than they imagined. Mara Patel stood beside him, eyes fixed on the distant stars. The universe is vast. But we are no longer small. We are learning, we are growing, and we are awakening. Our ancestors prepared this, and now it is our time. Humanity will rise. The Zarthul fleet observed the changes silently, their assumptions challenged. Commander Tharkul's voice carried over the bridge. The humans awaken. Their spirit, their determination, their hidden legacy, all of it makes them more than we thought. And soon the galaxy will witness what we have underestimated for far too long. Across the solar system, the shadows of the past were rising. Humanity, once considered fragile and insignificant, was finding strength in its forgotten history. Mars, Earth, and the Moon were linked by ancient technology, and the colonies were preparing for what could become the greatest era of human achievement. The Zarthul, for the first time in centuries, felt uncertainty. They had ruled countless systems, conquered numerous species, and yet the humans, small, young, seemingly weak, posed a mystery that challenged everything they knew. And on Mars, humanity's first fleets prepared to take to the stars. Ships gleamed under the Martian sun. Energy systems thrummed with ancient power, and human ingenuity combined with the brilliance of ancestors long gone. The stars waited. The Zarthul watched. Humanity, united and awakening, moved forward. The rise of a species, long underestimated and almost forgotten, was underway. And soon the galaxy would remember that humans were never truly weak. The Zarthul fleet had grown restless. For centuries they had assumed dominion over the stars, believing every young species insignificant. Humanity, once dismissed as fragile and weak, had shattered those assumptions. Across Mars, Earth, and the Moon, colonies had united, ancient technology had awakened, and a new fleet was ready. Captain Luis Ortega stood on the bridge of one of the newly rebuilt ships, the weight of history pressing upon him. Beside him, Lieutenant Mara Patel monitored energy flows and weapon systems. "This is it," Mara said softly. "All our work, all our discoveries, it comes down to today." Luis nodded, eyes fixed on the holographic display of the Zarthul fleet. "They think we are the same species they encountered before. But we are not. They will see what humanity truly is." The first strike came swiftly. Zarthul scouts, assuming the humans were still weak, probed the outer defenses of Mars. But humanity was ready. Ancient energy networks powered shields stronger than any modern design alone could create. Fleets of reconstructed ships moved with precision, combining modern tactics with centuries-old knowledge encoded in the ruins. Mara watched as the first scouts were intercepted. "They underestimated us," she said. "They still think this is a game." Luis smiled grimly. "Then we'll play, and we'll win." In orbit above Mars, the Zarthul commanders observed the human response with growing unease. Commander Tharkul's eyes, usually calm and calculating, narrowed as reports came in. Human ships, faster than expected and coordinated in ways he could not anticipate, struck with precision and retreated before counterattacks could land. Admiral Veshitra's voice carried a rare note of alarm. "They are using the technology from their ancestors. It's extraordinary. Their fleet has strength, speed, and strategy beyond their apparent experience." Tharkul's many eyes glimmered with concern. "This is not a species to dismiss. They are reclaiming what was theirs. If they continue, humanity may rise to a power we cannot match." On Mars, humans coordinated the first major counterattack. Fleets rose from orbital stations and launch bays powered by ancient energy generators. Ships glided through space with elegance, weapon systems humming with power, shields shimmering against the Zarthul attacks. For the first time, humanity was no longer defending. They were taking the initiative. Captain Ortega led the charge, his flagship at the forefront. "For Earth, for Mars, for our ancestors," he shouted over the comm system. The fleet moved as one, a blend of old knowledge and new courage, striking the Zarthul with tactics that left the alien fleet off balance. The battle was fierce. Zarthul warships, massive and powerful, unleashed devastating energy beams. Yet humanity's new ships, smaller and more agile, maneuvered with precision, dodging attacks and exploiting weaknesses in the enemy formations. Each strike was measured, guided by ancient knowledge and modern innovation. Lieutenant Patel directed the fleet's energy distribution. Shields pulsed with power, engines surged with speed, and weapon systems fired in perfect harmony. "We can do this," she said, watching the holographic displays. "We've learned from our past, and now we control our future." On the ground, human colonies cheered as communications relayed the victories. Mars, Earth, and the Moon were united, their people inspired by a fleet that carried the legacy of generations long gone. Humanity was no longer a fragile species. It was awakening as a force to be reckoned with. Commander Tharkul realized the tide had turned. The humans, once deemed insignificant, had learned, adapted, and reclaimed the power of their ancestors. "We underestimated them," he admitted, "and now they are beyond our control." Admiral Veshtra's voice was solemn. "If they continue like this, the Zarthul Empire may lose more than pride. We could face a threat unlike any we have known." In the heart of the battle, Captain Ortega targeted the Zarthul command ship, the center of their fleet. Using ancient coordinates recovered from the ruins, the human fleet anticipated the enemy's maneuvers, striking at points no modern calculation could predict. Energy beams from human ships collided with the Zarthul flagship, overwhelming its defenses. Mara Patel monitored the systems, adjusting power to shields and weapons. "Steady. Steady, now!" She unleashed a concentrated strike, and the Zarthul flagship shuddered under the force. For the first time, the Zarthul experienced defeat at the hands of humanity. Ships that had never been challenged were damaged, retreating in confusion and disbelief. Commander Tharkul's eyes widened as the reports came in. Humanity, long thought fragile, had broken the heart of the fleet. On Mars, celebrations erupted. The colonies, once fearful and scattered, now stood united. Humanity had defended its home, reclaimed its legacy, and demonstrated that it was a species not to be underestimated. Captain Ortega and Lieutenant Patel stood on the bridge of their ship, watching as the Zarthul retreated into the dark reaches of space. "We did it," Mara whispered. "We showed them who we are." Luis smiled, pride and relief mixing in his voice. "Not just who we are, but who we always were. Humanity's past is our strength, and our future is limitless." Dr. Tanaka addressed the colonies, her voice broadcast across the network. "We have proven that humanity's legacy is alive. We are heirs to a history that spans the stars. Our ancestors prepared this, and we have risen to meet it. Today we reclaim not just our colonies, but our place among the stars." The Zarthul fleet, though not destroyed, retreated to reconsider their assumptions. For the first time, they understood that the humans were more than they had imagined. Commander Tharkul's voice was quiet, tinged with respect and unease. "This species, underestimated, hidden, and forgotten, may yet rise to a power we cannot challenge. The galaxy has changed, and humanity has reminded us why the stars were never ours alone." Across Mars, Earth, and the Moon, humans prepared for the next phase. Ancient technology still lay buried, secrets waiting to be unlocked, and colonies worked together to expand their reach. Humanity had survived, awakened, and reclaimed a legacy lost for centuries. Captain Ortega looked out at the stars, his heart filled with hope. The Zarthul thought they could intimidate us. They thought the stars were theirs. But the stars belong to everyone, and now humanity is awake. Mara Patel joined him, eyes bright with determination. "Our past has given us strength. Our present has given us courage. And our future will take us to the stars." The galaxy watched, silent and vast. Humanity, once underestimated, had risen from fragile beginnings to claim its legacy. The Zarthul had been challenged, their arrogance confronted, and the seeds of a new era had been sown. In the quiet between the stars, humanity's message echoed. They were survivors, explorers, innovators, and now, awakened heirs to a forgotten empire. The stars were theirs to reach, to explore, and to reclaim, not by conquest, but by the enduring spirit of a species that refused to be dismissed. And as humanity prepared to venture further into the galaxy, one truth was clear. The legacy of the past had awakened the power of the present, and nothing, not even the mightiest empire, could silence the will of humans who had remembered who they truly were. The Zarthul Empire had assumed dominance over the stars. Humanity had reclaimed it. The galaxy would never be the same.